Hello everyone and welcome to our brand new transfer show. I'm your host Mo Stewart. Now obviously we're talking transfers and that normally means Gutman, but Big Bobby G is still on his summer recharge, so instead of him I've got Gareth Roberts here and Fuad Hasan. Welcome boys. We enjoying the new surroundings, these nice new chairs?
New seats and all that. I'm not quite sure how to sit in them, mate, to be honest. But we'll work it out. You just put your bum on it and you see what happens from there, don't you?
That's the least of our worries today, mate, trust me. We're going to be going through all of the wish lists, all of the weirdos on Twitter, and all of the transfer rumours, just to let you know what to decide to put your interest in and what to not bother with. So let's start with one of the more outlandish rumours, shall we say. It's probably one that's dominated the news cycle for the last 2 days or so. There's a guy in Spain, Indigo Suade, I think his name is, who seems to claim on the behalf of Don Ballon that Gareth Bale is interested in moving to Liverpool and Liverpool are interested in Gareth Bale. Apparently, the other club mentioned was Tottenham Hotspur. Now, obviously, everything that we think we know about the transfer policy of the club says that he's well out of it in terms of age, in terms of injury history, and all those other metrics we like to look at. But he is a big name player. He's someone I know that Neil Atkinson likes a lot. Do you see this as a viable option for us, or is this just paper chat?
I can't see it. He's 29, isn't he? He's 29 now, and it kind of feels like the ship sailed for us going for players like this. I think once upon a time when Liverpool were in a different place, it would be a player Liverpool would definitely go for, because it's one of those. I remember Rick Parry talking about, you know, it gets bums off seats when we signed Harry Kewell, and I think it's that kind of. But it's that
relatively it did,
but you know what I mean. It's that kind of signing, isn't it? Where it would get people excited, and I get that. But I just think, you know, the amount of money it's going to be, the amount of wages it's going to be, the fact that let's be honest, he wouldn't be guaranteed first team football week in, week out, and it just feels like it would upset the dynamic that we've already got as well. So for me, I can't see it. It's surely paper talk. It feels a very Man United signing, to be honest, rather than a Liverpool signing. Tottenham, they're always going to be linked, obviously, because he played there, but they've got the small matter of £1 billion stadium to play for. So, from a Liverpool perspective, definitely not. And I don't know if you've seen it, Mo, but I mentioned this on Talking Reds earlier, but there's an excellent article in the New York Times, really in depth, about how they do transfers, how they use data, how all the analysts they've got. There were some names in that article I'd never heard of before, but it was really interesting and really well done. And when you look at that and think about, you know, that a team of people are employed full time and it analysing every footballer in the world almost on a daily basis, I can't believe that at the end of all that they come out with Gareth Bale. It's a bit football manager, isn't it? You know what I mean? So, not for me.
No, Gareth makes a good point there, one that I probably will touch on again later on in the show, in terms of the way that we do business now, in terms of what we look for. But I want to touch on something else you mentioned in terms of wages. Yeah. Obviously, Gareth Bale's been on Real Madrid money for a long time now, so anyone who does take him on is going to have to take that on. When you consider the wage structure we've got in our squad, and like Gareth says, he's not going to get in the first team, it looks like a big risk, even if there was any merit to it.
Yeah, completely. I think, you know, you look at how a lot of the big names that we've got have kind of progressed in terms of their contracts at Liverpool, and how it's very much a on merit reward system where you kind of come in and then you earn your next contract and you earn that raise, and we've seen players do that. And I think if you were to bring someone like Gareth Bale in, then he's straight away going to be at the top kind of bracket of wage earners, and that does upset, you know, the dynamic a bit for players who, you know, are kind of showing on the pitch that they deserve to have that raise, and you got someone just coming in and walking into it. It does feel very much like agent talk in terms of who we're going to link with. Oh, we'll pick the 2 finalists of the Champions League and use them as kind of like proponents to make a move out. And, you know, just purely, I think the transfer fee alone is just a bit kind of ridiculous for someone of that age for Liverpool. That money could go in a lot of better kind of places in terms of other parts of the pitch and players of an age group where they can come in and develop with the team.
No, I think it says a lot about not only the way that we're developing as a team, but also our status in world football. The fact that this doesn't really get us going anymore. We're not really that asked about it. It's like, Gareth Bale, yeah, you know, you did great things in your career, but we're looking beyond that now. So, as you may have known from last summer, we could do all of our transfer rumours on a Mo scale. Now, this is just basically because I'm the one who's always here. There's no necessary arbiter of quality. But I'll kick this one off, being the first one of the series, and I'm going to give the Gareth Bale rumour 1 Mo out of 5. 1. Which tells you that it's not very likely. Gareth, how many Mo's would you like to give him?
No Mo's.
Mo?
No, 0 Mo's out of 5 for the Gareth Bale rumour. Absolutely no chance it's not happening.
Setting the base level early, I like it. Fuad?
Probably half a Mo. You can choose which half, but
literally destroying the whole system within 2 minutes. I love it. Okay, so we should move on to someone a little bit more realistic. Someone who definitely was, in fact, 2 players who definitely were on our radar. If you listen to what we've heard over the course of the last 6 months, Julian Brandt and Thorgan Hazard. Well, they have both come off our radar because they've already been bought by Borussia Dortmund straight away. Which is a fantastic bit of business, which if I believe they've got them for 65 million euros for the pair, which is fantastic. Now, Fuad, they were linked with us. They were of that kind of profile we have been speaking about recently. But Borussia Dortmund, fair play to them, they've got in and got the job done. Do you see this affecting us in terms of some of our other targets, maybe thinking that other clubs are going to start moving quicker now?
Yeah, I think Brandt's quite an interesting one because he's a name that's been linked for a couple of years, and it was sort of that period at Leverkusen where he decided to stay on and sign another contract. And you've heard from like people around him, journalists in Germany, that he's very much kind of keen on staying in Germany in order to kind of get into the national team and establish himself. And I was reading something about what he said as soon as he's joined Dortmund, his quotes, and it was very much talking about feeling. He had a good feeling about Dortmund, and it seems like, I'm sure Klopp had talks with him. I'm sure the club had talks with him, and if he wasn't the kind of right person in terms of his how convinced he was in terms of moving to England, then it's best if he doesn't, because we've seen players who come in aren't necessarily comfortable with the country, the style of football, whatever else, the dynamics of living here. In terms of him, I think he's very much one where he would have been a really good addition because he can play in a couple of different positions. He can play in that attacking midfielder role and out wide. And I think he's kind of been brought in as Royce is kind of getting older and to kind of deputise for him and get football where he can establish himself for the national team, which is the main hope. But yeah, I think it does affect us because, we're going to be. I'm sure they've had plans in terms of alternatives, and I'm sure this transfer was done long in advance so that they could move on to other names. But he would have been one where I would have definitely been kind of keen on.
I think it's interesting, Brandt, though, isn't it? Because I remember when we were linked with him in the past and sort of talk that came back the other way was that he didn't fancy it because basically he'd looked at Liverpool's squad and thought, I'm not regularly getting into the first team there. And that's kind of a problem for Liverpool this summer, isn't it? When we've done as well as we have, when we've racked all those points up, when we've got to the final and hopefully go on to win the European Cup, then that obviously shows the quality of the first team. And it's mainly been a first team, do you know what I mean? They've been there week in, week out. So that for me is an argument that you still need some people around the periphery because maybe we've been a little bit lucky with injuries and stuff like that. But at the same time, if you're that player or you're that agent of that player and you're having the conversation about potential clubs to speak to, go to, etc., is there a part here where you go, I'd love to be there, but he's in the way. Do you know what I mean?
And there's no guarantee that obviously the manager's going to come in with a brand new formation that accommodates all of you, and then you can all live happily ever after. It doesn't always work that way in football. And another one of the German stars who seems more happy to stay at home, who we've also been linked with, Timo Werner. It looks like him to Bayern is nailed on again. And again, that might be the same argument. You look at it and think, is he going to get past Lewandowski? Maybe he knows something we don't about Lewandowski's future. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Now, the last one of the 3 names I want to give you up top today is one person who probably would think he can get into our first 11. It's a bit of an outlandish name for some people, but he was considered before, so let's consider him again. It's Kylian Mbappé. Yes, it's Kylian Mbappé.
Get in, let's get him.
Now, when he left Monaco, there were strong rumours that he was considering Liverpool, but at the same time, it was also considered as a stepping stone onto his eventual move to Madrid. Now, obviously, Madrid are still very much keen on him. He seems quite keen on them still. But his language has changed a bit. He's talking about it being a turning point in his career, wanting to take on more responsibility. Now, obviously, when he first considered us 2 years ago, he thought of us as one thing. Since then, we have very much developed on the global stage. We basically beat him and showed him exactly how good we were earlier this season. We've been obviously very close to winning the title this season. So the question's not just about would he come, it's more about are we now on a similar footing with those ones who he's looking for? Are we no longer a stepping stone?
I think that's definitely the case. You've seen with the players that we've got, it's kind of easy to forget that we've got 3 or 4, maybe 5 world-class players that most teams in Europe would take in a heartbeat. And I think with Mbappe, it's been interesting because he did that kind of conference earlier on a few weeks ago. I think the PSG. I'm not sure what it was. He was on stage basically and publicly kind of criticised the club in terms of how much responsibility they're giving him, how he's kind of being treated a little bit, I guess, in terms of how good he is and the importance he is, how important he is for the club. And I think he's one of those players that is going to be the big name. I think when we see Messi and Ronaldo sort of fizzle out in terms of retirement, he's going to be the one that I think will take over. Yeah, and the one big thing with him is I think he is that sort of player who is very versatile. He could play out on the wing, he could play down the middle. And if you're looking at Liverpool, and I think that's a really key thing with looking at players coming here, that we need people who can kind of play in different positions. Because if you're only really a wide player, and then you look at the wide options we have, you're not really going to get into the team, are you? But if you've got that versatility, then that there are more kind of options for you. And he's definitely one of those players that he would get in our team regardless. But still, you could see him being. I mean, that front three could be something.
You having this, Gareth?
I'm having this one. I like this one, but just because even if it's daft, well, so what? Because it's one to dream about, isn't it? It'd be lovely, wouldn't it? And I remember talking about this a couple of years ago when we were linked with him, and people sort of being like, as if, do you know what I mean? Get your heads out your arses, lad. He's never coming to Liverpool. This is you as a Liverpool fan being ridiculous and all that. I honestly think now we're not being ridiculous and saying there's a possibility. Klopp came out in the past and said he was genuinely interested in him, genuinely spoke to him, genuinely put the feelers out. This time, like you say, he's at PSG. We've beat PSG. We beat a string of champions of countries on our way to the final. Like, we're getting noticed. People know who Liverpool Football Club are again, and we've got money. We've got a great manager. We've got a manager that players want to come and play for. We've seen that before. Oxlade-Chamberlain turning down Chelsea and coming to Liverpool, things like that. So I don't know. I mean, the question's obviously the money, the wage and the transfer that it would take to get a player like that, but I don't think it's cloud cuckoo to say the player would maybe be interested to come to Liverpool and play. I think what's interesting as well is, and this could bite me on the arse obviously, but I think Liverpool are perhaps better placed to be steely with clubs coming the other way now as well. So, we had this period of time at the latter end of the season where Madrid, a team, were flashing a bit of thigh at Sadio Mane. And then the latest reports are basically Madrid have been told, well, 200 million then, and they've gone, oh, we'll leave that. But you know what I mean? When you've got players that are like being rated, like I seen a rating for Mo, and it was something like 170 or 180 million, and it's like this is the kind of player we've now got at our club, tied up to long contracts, not as far as we know steering for a move.
No.
If you want to come and take them away, then all the best, you've got to pay absolutely top whack. And in that piece again in the New York Times, and I know this won't be to some people's liking, but it did say the money we got for Coutinho, as anyone could work out, then meant we could go and get Alisson, Van Dijk, Fabinho, etc. And that's still got to be the way of the world a little bit. This thing about whether you buy or sell and all that, I think some of it is a bit ridiculous. Like, if you're getting offered that kind of money, and you definitely you can get these fellas over here, then why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
I'm more than happy that we ended up with those fellas and Coutinho went. You know what I mean? I get the argument about it would have been nice to keep him and have them as well. But that's probably not economically realistic. So
and we don't know what knock-on effect that would have had in the squad. So This is all good stuff, guys. You've convinced me that this is more likely to happen. So now, when it comes to my Mo rating, I'm going to be strong. Kylian Mbappé, 3 Mo's. 3 Mo's out of 5. Now, some of those may be potential, but come on, just imagine how good that would be. Fuad, what are you saying?
I would go slap bang in the middle, go 2.5 Mo's.
You're messing with my system again.
I just want to make it harder for Sam on the graphics.
I'm going 3.75 Mo's.
All right, that was worth it just to see Sam's face behind you. Now, obviously, we don't know if Kylian Mbappé is going to come, but one thing we do know is that us here at the Anfield Wrap have got a brand new app. You may have heard us talking about it. If not, you're about to hear us talking about it. Well, that was nice, wasn't it? Nice little animation there. Now, obviously, any one of you out there who have the app but may have a little bit of problem with it, there is help out there for you. All you need to do is email us at help@theanfieldwrap.com. Most of them do tend to be password related, so it should be really easily fixed. Now, as for us as a show, this is the first of a regular amount. We don't know exactly how regular yet, so keep your eyes out exactly for when we're releasing more of them. And if you like the show, as always, let us know in the comments. Be nice, subscribe, and watch out for all our future videos. I wanted to make this one a little bit shorter to give these two a chance to go home and Google Samuel Chukwueze as a hint for you. See you next time.